In New York, the winner is Eva Marie Saint.
I may have the baby right here.
At almost 101, Eva Marie Saint holds a strange record. She's not just the oldest living Oscar winner. She's the last person alive who knows why half of Hollywood disappeared in the 1950s. She watched friends destroy each other for work. She saw careers end with one phone call. She lost $100,000 film deals overnight, but she never broke, never named names. And now, decades later, she's still here. Eva Marie Saint was born on the 4th of July, 1924, in Newark, New Jersey. That date made her sound like she was destined for something great. Her parents were Quakers, her father a businessman, her mother a teacher, and their faith was quiet, honest, and peaceful. That same calm strength would later show up in Eva Marie's acting. She wasn't loud or flashy. She was grounded. She was real. When she was still a child, her family moved to Del Mar, New York. It was a sleepy little town near Albany, with fewer than 4,000 people back then. At Bethlehem Central High School, Eva Marie kept her head down, studied hard, and didn't dream of acting yet. She graduated in 1942, right in the middle of World War II. Many of her classmates went straight to war. Everything felt serious and uncertain, but she stayed focused. Teachers noticed her voice. It was clear, confident, and warm, something special even then. She followed her older sister to Bowling Green State University in Ohio. At first, she wanted to be a teacher like her mother. The campus was buzzing with change. Wartime had brought more responsibility to the women there, as many men were off fighting. Eva Marie blended in, just another student trying to find her place. That is, until one night at her dorm. It happened at Schatzel Hall. She was in her pajamas, goofing around with friends, when she sang, "I'm Just a Girl Who Can't Say No" from Oklahoma. It was just for fun, but something shifted. Her friends saw it. Her performance wasn't just a silly sing-along. It was alive, real, full of charm and honesty. Word got out. One of her professors, Eldon T. Smith, heard about it. He tracked her down. He saw something rare, poise, intelligence, heart, and urged her to audition for plays. At first she hesitated, but he wouldn't give up. Slowly, she gave in. That's when everything changed. She dropped her education major and switched to theater. Her father told her, "Honey, whatever you want to do, you just do your best." So she did. After graduating in 1946, Eva Marie headed straight for New York City. No backup plan, no waiting, just pure belief. She started at the bottom, literally. Her first job was as an NBC page. She gave studio tours, fetched coffee, watched everything. At the same time, she was modeling and grabbing whatever acting gigs she could find. She worked nonstop, juggling small radio parts and day jobs. It wasn't glamorous, but she was learning, watching, waiting for her chance. Then, one day in 1949, something unexpected happened. She was walking through the subway near Rockefeller Center. A man, Jeffrey Hayden, noticed her. It wasn't just her looks. He was drawn to the way she moved and to the black modeling portfolio she carried. It had her name, Eva Marie Saint, written in gold at the bottom. He couldn't get her out of his mind. They talked. She didn't drink coffee, so they had lunch instead. He was a television director. She was chasing a dream. They clicked instantly. Her 1949 date book still has his first words scribbled down, "Jeff's here to stay," and he was. They got married on October 28, 1951. Their marriage lasted 65 years, until Hayden's death in 2016. In a town full of breakups, they were the rare love story that stuck. By the time she married Hayden, Eva Marie was already making a name for herself. Live television was booming, and she was everywhere. In just a few years, she racked up more than 25 roles. She became known as the Helen Hayes of television, a title that meant she was one of the best. She wasn't chasing fame. She was chasing truth in every role. Eva Marie Saint was 30 years old when she stepped into the spotlight for the very first time. She wasn't a household name. She wasn't even a film actress yet. But all of that changed in 1954, when director Elia Kazan gave her a shot in On the Waterfront. She starred opposite Marlon Brando, playing Edie Doyle, a woman caught between love and loss. The story was raw. It showed the corruption and mob rule controlling the docks of Hoboken, New Jersey. Saint's role was small on paper, but her performance changed everything. Critics praised her honesty. She didn't try to act tough or glamorous. She was real. She had been paid only $7,500 $7,500 for the role, but On the Waterfront became a monster hit. The film earned 12 Oscar nominations and won 8, including Best Picture. Hollywood suddenly saw her as a rising star, and for a moment, it felt like she had the world at her feet. The night of the Oscars was March 30th, 1955. Saint was 9 months pregnant. Her husband, Jeffrey Hayden, begged her not to go, but she insisted. She wore a sleek black dress, swollen feet hidden beneath the hem. When Frank Sinatra called her name as Best Supporting Actress, the room went silent for a beat. Then she stood up, wobbled slightly, and walked to the stage. She kissed the Oscar and smiled. Then she said it, "I may have the baby right here." The audience laughed, but her next words shocked the room. She thanked the longshoremen of New York. She said their stories mattered. She said Hollywood needed to tell more stories like theirs. It was meant to be kind, honest, maybe even noble. But this was 1955, and the House Un-American Activities Committee was watching everyone. Mentioning labor, workers, or class struggle could ruin a career. Studio executives were seen walking out as she spoke. The camera cut away from her face. What should have been a magical moment became something else, something dangerous. 2 days later, on April 1st, 1955, she gave birth to her son, Daryl. Newspapers called him the Oscar baby. Reporters crowded the hospital, trying to snap pictures of her and the newborn. Her acceptance speech had already caused a stir, and now her family life was becoming a national headline. The baby weighed 7 pounds, 3 ounces. The congratulations poured in, telegrams, letters, calls. But underneath the joy, something darker was brewing. Eva Marie Saint had no idea her life was about to fall apart when she opened the envelope on June 12, 1956. Inside was a subpoena. The House Un-American Activities Committee wanted her to testify. She was stunned. So was her husband, Jeffrey Hayden. Years later, he said they were blindsided. Eva wasn't political. She had never been part of any organization, protest, or rally. Her biggest crime? Mentioning workers' rights during an Oscar speech. She had just won that Oscar the year before, in 1955, for On the Waterfront. She was Hollywood's golden girl, beautiful, talented, and riding a wave of success. She had smoothly moved from television to film, and people expected her to become one of the greats. But now, everything was in danger. In the 1950s, even being suspected of having communist sympathies could end a career, and the timing couldn't have been worse. Just when she was reaching her peak, the industry turned cold. 10 days after the subpoena, things got worse. Her name showed up in red channels. That one booklet, just 24 pages long, had the power to destroy lives. It listed 151 people accused of having communist ties. Some were actual party members. Others had just signed a petition or spoken out. The list didn't care. To advertisers and studios, everyone in red channels was poison. And now, Eva's name was there. Her Oscar speech, just a few words about treating workers fairly, was enough to land her on the blacklist. This wasn't about proof. It was about fear. Studios were terrified of public backlash. Networks didn't want trouble. And nobody wanted their show or movie boycotted. That little booklet, published back in 1950, had turned into the Blacklist Bible by 1956. Once your name was in it, the phone stopped ringing. Meetings were canceled. Contracts disappeared. Eva Marie Saint had become a risk, not a star. Then came July 31st, 1956. She sat in front of the committee for 4 straight hours. They wanted names. They always did. That was their game. Break one person so they'd drag others down. But Eva didn't break. She told them she wasn't a communist. And then she said something they weren't used to hearing. "I won't participate in ruining careers based on rumors and fear." That one sentence cost her everything. Other actors gave in. They named names. Some cried while doing it. Others saved their careers by cooperating. But Eva stood her ground. She knew what it meant. She'd seen what happened to people who refused to cooperate. Some never worked again. Some left the country. She did it anyway. It was a decision rooted in principle. But Hollywood didn't reward bravery. It punished it. Her punishment came fast. Projects were canceled. Studios cut ties. She had once earned $100,000 a film. Now she was getting nothing. Just 3 years earlier, she had made $7,500 for On the Waterfront. That jump from $7,500 to $100,000 was proof of how fast her star had risen. But now the fall was even faster. The blacklist didn't just pause your career, it erased it. A 1956 study said red channels marked the official start of blacklisting in radio and TV. But for Eva, it was more personal. It meant her dream was over. No offers, no auditions, no future, and worst of all, no explanation. People in the industry just went quiet. No one wanted to be seen defending her. No one wanted their own name added to the list. By 1960, she was dealing with something even harder than a ruined career. Her father-in-law had Alzheimer's. Eva became his caregiver. It was a full-time job, emotionally draining, physically exhausting, and all while she was still blacklisted. She was only in her mid-30s. Those were supposed to be her best years, but instead of filming, she was changing sheets and managing his medications. Her husband, Jeffrey Hayden, was blacklisted too. He had been a director and producer, but now they were both stuck. No money coming in, no work on the horizon, just two people trying to survive Hollywood's most brutal decade. For Eva, the cost of speaking up wasn't just about jobs, it was about identity. She had lost her voice, her platform, her purpose. Alfred Hitchcock made a move in 1959 that no one saw coming. For his thriller North by Northwest, he picked Eva Marie Saint for the role of Eve Kendall. At the time, Saint was best known for her Oscar-winning performance in On the Waterfront, where she played working-class women in gritty, emotional roles. No one expected her to play a sleek, mysterious femme fatale. Hitchcock wanted someone who could be polished, cool, and elegant. And he saw something in Saint that most people didn't. He didn't just cast her, he transformed her. To prepare for the role, Hitchcock worked with her personally. He helped her lower her voice, sharpen her look, and even took her shopping at Bergdorf Goodman in New York to select every outfit for the film. This wasn't just direction, it was reinvention. Saint, once seen as too down-to-earth for glamour roles, became one of Hitchcock's most unforgettable blondes. The gamble worked. North by Northwest was a box office smash and later ranked number 40 on the American Film Institute's list of the 100 greatest American films of all time. Hitchcock had a strange way of directing actors. According to Eva Marie Saint, he only gave her 3 rules: lower your voice, don't use your hands, and look directly into Cary Grant's eyes. That was it. Simple, but completely different from what she had learned during 7 years at the Actors Studio. There, she had been taught to build a character from within, but Hitchcock believed in shaping the outside first. By stripping away gestures and adding stillness, he made her character seem calm, trustworthy, and in control. This made her later betrayal in the story even more devastating. You didn't see it coming, and that was the point. One of the most iconic scenes in the film happens on a train. It's the moment when Cary Grant's character and Saint's Eve Kendall share a long, passionate kiss in her private compartment. That scene became legendary, but what most people don't know is what happened off-camera. As they were filming, a photographer climbed a ladder to get a behind-the-scenes shot. He got so caught up watching the chemistry between Grant and Saint that he literally fell off the ladder. The romance felt that real. The scene was perfectly choreographed. Every glance, every pause, every breath built tension. Hitchcock wanted the moment to feel intimate, but also dangerous. Grant's character was on the run. Saint's character was helping him. And in that small train room, surrounded by threat, the spark between them exploded. That balance, romance wrapped in suspense, became one of Hitchcock's trademarks. North by Northwest changed everything for Eva Marie Saint. Before this film, she was seen as the serious dramatic actress. After it, she became part of Hitchcock's legendary line of blonde heroines, joining names like Grace Kelly, Kim Novak, and Tippi Hedren. Hitchcock even told her, "Women go to the movies, and they've just left the sink at home. They don't want to see you at the sink." He didn't want her playing housewives anymore. He wanted her to be something more, and she became exactly that. The film's influence spread far beyond 1959. It shaped spy thrillers for decades. Saint's Eve Kendall became the blueprint for the smart, seductive, unpredictable female lead, and Saint herself became a global star. By 2024, she was 100 years old and still the oldest living Academy Award winner. Her role in North by Northwest remains her most iconic, but that wasn't the only highlight of her career. Eva Marie Saint worked with nearly every Hollywood legend of her time. After On the Waterfront, she starred with Paul Newman in Exodus in 1960. It was a sweeping story about the founding of Israel, and her performance held its own against Newman's raw intensity. She also starred with him in Our Town in 1954. She teamed up with Frank Sinatra in That Certain Feeling in 1956. The film was light, a comedy that showed her versatility next to Sinatra's effortless charm. In 1972, she acted with Bob Hope in Cancel My Reservation, giving one of her last great great comedic performances. She even stood toe-to-toe with the stormy real-life romance of Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton in The Sandpiper in 1965. That film captured the fire between Taylor and Burton, but Saint brought balance to the screen with her calm presence. In 1957's Raintree County, she again acted with Taylor, this time with Montgomery Clift as well. The film was an epic set during the Civil War, full of emotion and tragedy. Clift had just survived a horrific car accident and was fragile, physically and mentally. Taylor was at her peak, glamorous, powerful, and intense. The set was emotionally charged. The costumes were grand, the story complex. Saint played Nell Gaither, the gentle first love of Clift's character. Her quiet, graceful performance stood in contrast to the chaos around her. Raintree County was nominated for 4 Academy Awards, including Best Actress for Taylor. While reviews were mixed, the experience shaped Saint. It taught her how to hold her own with the biggest stars in the toughest conditions. Eva Marie Saint's marriage to Jeffrey Hayden lasted 65 years, and it wasn't by accident. In a town where most celebrity romances crumble fast and loud, Eva made a choice early on. She said it herself. "I never dated an actor. I knew that when I was in my 20s. I didn't want that." She understood something most young stars didn't: competition and kill love. So instead of falling for a co-star, she married a director. That small decision changed everything. Jeffrey got it. He understood long hours, missed dinners, and the waiting. He knew what it meant when the phone rang with a last-minute offer. They weren't competing for the spotlight. They were cheering each other on. Jeffrey even directed Eva in stage productions like Summer and Smoke and Desire Under the Elms. Their bond was built on collaboration, not rivalry. While other actor couples often fell apart under pressure, they grew closer. Eva once mentioned only a few actor pairs who made it work: Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward, Jessica Tandy and Hume Cronin, but those were rare exceptions. She and Jeffrey were something else entirely. They weren't just a couple, they were a team. They didn't just succeed in marriage, they built a life. 2 kids, Daryl and Lorette. Daryl was born April 1st, 1955, just 2 days after Eva won an Oscar for On the Waterfront. Talk about timing. Lorette followed in 1958. Unlike most Hollywood children, they stayed grounded. Daryl became a design instructor and later launched his own creative coaching company in 2010. Lorette became a licensed therapist in Los Angeles. No scandals, no headlines, just a family that quietly stuck together. Eva often credited Jeffrey for her ability to keep working. He stepped in when it mattered. She once told a story of how he looked after the kids so she could take a film role she would have otherwise declined. It wasn't a grand gesture. It was love in the day-to-day. By the time Jeffrey passed, the family had grown to include 4 grandchildren. And in 2024, Eva celebrated her 100th birthday, surrounded by 4 generations. That doesn't happen by luck alone. But Eva didn't pretend they had all the answers. When asked about the secret to a long marriage, she smiled and said, "A lot of being married a long time is luck. I mean, getting a good one." They met on the New York City subway in 1949. He noticed the gold lettering on her modeling portfolio. That was the beginning. They married on October 28, 1951. She always said you can't plan who you fall in love with, but you can choose how you love them every day. She also believed in making decisions together. "You certainly have to decide whether you're going to have family or not," she once said. And when she was asked again about their secret, she gave a thoughtful response about shared values, while Jeffrey just grinned and said, "Sex." That balance of honesty and humor kept them going. Then came the hardest part. Jeffrey died on December 24, 2016, at age 90. He passed at home after a long battle with cancer just before Christmas. Eva didn't hide from the grief. "It comes in waves," she said. Her daughter Lorette helped her through it, even coaching her to tell Jeffrey, "You're going to be okay," in his final moments. Eva turned to books like The Year of Magical Thinking to make sense of her loss. That wasn't just the end of a marriage. It was the end of a rare Hollywood story. They had survived blacklist scares, career setbacks, and the death of friends, but they never lost each other. Eva once said that when someone you love dies, it feels like you're the only one who's ever been through it. That kind of pain is personal, but by sharing her truth, she helped others feel a little less alone. In the 1970s, Eva Marie Saint made a bold move that few in Hollywood saw coming. After the 1960s left her with fewer interesting film offers, she didn't fade away. She crossed the ocean. Instead of clinging to old roles, she took on something completely different, a supporting part in the 1970 Italian drama, The Grasshopper. It wasn't a glossy American picture. It was a raw, psychological story where she played a woman drowning in infidelity and emotional crisis. This wasn't the sweet, wholesome image audiences once knew. This was gritty, broken, real, and that was exactly the point. The film didn't break box office records, but it didn't need to. What mattered was the signal it sent. Eva wasn't afraid to take risks. She dove into European cinema while most stars stayed safe in Hollywood, and it paid off. She started building a new reputation, one that embraced darker, more mature roles. It was the beginning of a quiet transformation. The world had moved on from golden age glamour, but Eva evolved with it. She refused to be typecast or forgotten. As the years went on, she turned to television. For many fading film stars, it was a last resort, but for Eva, it became a place to shine. In 1990, at age 66, she won a Primetime Emmy for People Like Us. She played Lil Altimus, a manipulative high society woman with a dangerously charming smile. Critics loved her performance. They said she brought complexity to a character who could have easily been just another villain. It wasn't her first Emmy nod. She had earned nominations back in the 1950s for the Philco Television Playhouse and Our Town. But this win proved she was still a force. While many of her peers had retired or slipped into obscurity, Eva was still getting awards, still commanding attention, and she didn't stop there. In 2006, when most actors her age were long retired, Eva joined Superman Returns. She was 81. She played Martha Kent, Superman's adoptive mother. The film was a major hit, and Eva's performance brought heart and dignity to the superhero world. 8 years later, at 89, she showed up again in Winter's Tale. This time, she played a centenarian newspaper editor with sharp wit and wisdom. When asked about it, she laughed and said playing someone over 100 made her feel young, and she meant it. Then, in 2018, something magical happened. Eva Marie Saint walked out onto the stage at the Academy Awards. She was 93. It had been 64 years since she won her own Oscar for On the Waterfront. The audience rose to their feet. She joked that she was older than the Academy and paid tribute to her late husband, Jeffrey Hayden, whom she had been married to for 65 years. That moment wasn't just about nostalgia. It was about presence. Even after nearly a century, Eva still had the room in the palm of her hand. On July 4, 2024, Eva turned 100. Born in Newark, New Jersey in 1924, she officially became the oldest living Academy Award winner. Only a few others, like George Burns and Olivia de Havilland, had reached that milestone after winning an Oscar. But Eva wasn't just alive. She was still walking, still speaking, still sharp. Turner Classic Movies dedicated Thursday nights in July to her. On her birthday, they aired On the Waterfront at 8:12 p.m. It was a celebration of a woman whose career had lasted almost 80 years. Even more surprising, Eva still keeps up with baseball. She walks regularly. She laughs often. In an interview with People, she said she didn't feel 100, and honestly, she didn't look it either. Just days after accepting her Oscar in 1955, she gave birth to her son, Daryl. That story, too, has now become part of her legend, winning Hollywood's biggest award while becoming a new mother. Today, she holds another rare title. She's not just the oldest Oscar winner alive. She's the earliest. She received her award before any other living winner. That makes her the last link to an era of cinema that shaped the world. She worked with Brando, Grant, Taylor. She witnessed the fall of the studio system, the rise of color, the birth of modern independent film. She didn't just live through Hollywood history, she helped make it. But her legacy isn't just on screen. At Bowling Green State University, where she studied in the 1940s, there's now a theater named after her, the Eva Marie Saint Theater. It opened in 2012, and the city even declared October 13th as Eva Marie Saint Day. She once said she wouldn't have become an actress without BGSU, and she's still giving back. Since 1986, she's funded scholarships for young acting students. She didn't just walk away from her roots, she kept watering them. And of course, there's the Walk of Fame. She has not one, but 2 stars, one for film and one for television. Few actors have earned that kind of double honor. It's proof of her impact on both sides of the screen. Her 100th birthday brought more than just public tributes. It brought family. 4 generations flew in from all over: Los Angeles, Chicago, Santa Barbara, San Francisco. Her 2 children, Daryl and Lorette, and her 4 grandchildren, Tyler, Molly, Eli, and Stella. They gathered not as celebrities, but as family. And for Eva, that meant more than any statue or standing ovation. She always said her family was her happiest achievement. And on that summer day in 2024, surrounded by children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, that truth was on full display. Her life was never just about fame. It was about love, dedication, and a spirit that never broke, even after 100 years.